Today I cover weeks 7 and 8 of my client Vivyen's reverse diet series. So jumping right into it, the story of week 7 was a little different for her as she struggled a little bit more than usual with emotions and eating. She had some travel, she ate more than usual at a barbecue, didn't bring her scale with her on her travels, which I wouldn't expect her to, but it was just kind of an off week. However, in a weird way, I'm almost kind of happy this happened because I know sometimes it almost looks like she's a machine, like she just continues to hit her numbers over and over, and it probably makes you feel like there's something wrong if you're not on it all the time, and it's just not the case. And we have to remember too, she used to struggle a lot more. She has since improved her relationship with food dramatically, but like anyone, she's human. So anyway, the moral of the story here is something I preach all the time: perfection is not required. Yes, it's good to be as consistent as possible, but that does not mean if you get off one day or even a week that all is lost and you have no hope. And this is something that I love so much about taking a daily average for the week versus it looking at singular days. You can have some days like this that are off and you go over much more than usual, and even with those couple of higher day calories, her average for the week was still only about 100 calories over, and like I said, that's not going to make or break anything. And the last thing you want to do is beat yourself up or feel guilty about it, because that's going to do no good. You aren't going to do that and then go, okay, I took my licking and I feel better now, I'm going to move forward. No, it's going to beat you down even more and make it more likely to spiral out of control from there. That doesn't mean we don't look back and try to learn from some things and try to find ways that we can improve based on our experience, but you can never change anything about the past. The only thing you can do is focus on what you can do now and moving forward. Anyway, even being off for the week, she still stayed pretty steady, actually averaging being down about 1/10 of a pound, which just further shows why you can't fall into the all or nothing mentality. In fact, I would never expect this, but her weight was remarkably consistent given the ups and downs. So what I decided to do heading into week 8 in response was increase her carbs by 10 and her fat by 2, which is a 58 calorie increase. And as I mentioned last week, we'll be keeping her cardio at 30 minutes for the rest of the way. Now, if you want to get technical, these calories are actually less than she consumed last week, but it's still a pretty good bump up in calories from her targets. And as I keep saying, with her wanting to stay as steady as possible, I didn't want to make any big 100+ calorie adjustments. Now, that might have been different if she was telling me that she was like super hungry all the time, really food focused, just struggling in general to stick to the plan, but that just wasn't the case here. It had more to do with just being off for a couple days and having an experience where she just wanted to enjoy more food at a certain event. In fact, she even mentioned she knew what she was doing going in and she was okay with it. And I never have a problem if that's the case. You just have to know the difference between sometimes it can be pretty easy to convince ourselves in the moment when it's not really true, which means you just kind of justify it in the moment and then end up regretting it later, which is very much different than actually being okay with it when it's done, when you had that plan going in. Anyway, one important thing to note going into week 8 was it was her period week, and as you know by now, that means a spike on the scale. Which this week was no different, as she saw an increase of 1.31 pounds on average for the week. But with all this history of data we have on her now, we know that's roughly what to expect. So as far as I'm concerned, everything was right on track. She also mentioned she only got one workout for the week, just being really exhausted both mentally and physically. But she also mentioned that she showed herself some compassion for this and knew she would just get right back on track. And that's just something I love, like the whole compassion thing. Like so many times, again, it's just the same as the food side of things. If you beat yourself up and you feel guilty and you get down on yourself and feel disappointed, nothing good comes from that. Sometimes we all need a little bit of a break, and that's fine. We just got to get back on track again. Now, she did mention she's going to return to the gym again here after doing home workouts for so long, so we always have to keep that in mind, understanding it's going to be a different muscle stimulus, going to get more optimal training, probably going to have a little extra inflammation and things like that, as there's going to be more soreness, rebuild some muscle, increase glycogen storage, and things like that. Which of course is why we keep an eye on things like body composition and not only rely on scale weight. She also mentioned in this check-in that she's in no rush to get her calories up quickly. She said she's not overly hungry or anything like that, and she does want to continue to get calories up, and she knows keeping a slower or more moderate approach will help you do that while staying steady. So with that, I increased her carbs by 5 and her fat by 2, which is a 38 calorie increase from the prior week. And we'll just see what happens with her weight for the following week. I imagine it'll come back down being off her period, but also probably up some from the week prior. But as always, we'll just see what happens, monitor, and adjust accordingly. By the way, to make sure you don't make a lot of very common mistakes when you're going through your own reverse diet, make sure you check out this top video next to make sure you avoid them. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.